Actually, what the customers are looking for when they talk to a MIM producer, they are looking for complexity of parts without a compromise in properties. And what we can achieve with our technology, which is using fine powders and high temperature sintering and capability of powder of injection molding, of plastics injection molding actually, together with the powders, is that we can have complexity just having a cost only in the production of the mold, and then we can have high complexity with good high density, and so a very high mechanical properties or all other physical properties needed. And that's what the customers actually look for when they ask for a quotation to a producer of MIM parts. What you can do with metal injection molding is producing parts for a much larger variety of applications, whereas ceramics are restricted to usually high temperature or very high strength and wear resistance. We can produce parts for so many sectors, so many market segments, that the use of metal powders actually has not yet even digged the whole scope of its possibilities. We can produce more or less any alloy nowadays. Even the hardest alloys, which were thought of like the aluminum alloys and titanium alloys, which were difficult to produce by metal injection molding. So I think the technology is still evolving, and it's younger than ceramic injection molding, which started in the 20s last century, but I think it has proved to be much more, it's much wider, to have a much wider range of applications. Well, actually, MIM is an established technology nowadays. So, but nevertheless, it's still growing a lot, and we all have data that claim that it has been growing over the last 10 years by an aggregate of 10% by year. So that's a huge amount, considering the crisis we have had. But concerning the sectors, we feel that especially the medical and the aerospace would be probably the ones where MIM will expand more in the next years. But we must not forget that even consumer goods have been and will be probably every year you get a new gadget becoming popular. And in the last years, for instance, for all the mobile phones and other small electronic applications, there's been a lot of consumption of powders for MIM production, especially in Asia. So I expect that will be as well one of the drivers in the next years. Depends, of course, on which gadget we will get in the next months, but I expect it to be comprising some metal injection molding part. Well, in the last years, Asia has been growing incredibly. Well, if we compare to 2000, they have completely overturned the ranking, and they are now the most important area for production, and I guess that will be in the next years as well. I think Europe, for instance, can work very well, especially if we can keep the pace with the innovation. And I think that the MIM companies are rather good at that. There is a lot of research going on, and actually if we look at the possibilities that we have been seeing around in the research in the last years, there are quite a few. I mean, if you look at, for instance, the micro-molding for micro devices or micro sensors, that will be very important, I think, in the biomedical applications in the next years. That's a growing sector, and then also multi-material parts, where you can sinter together different materials even metal and ceramics sometimes, so that you can have maybe a conductive and non-conductive part in the same component, or you can have magnetic or non-magnetic parts joined together, soundly joined together by sintering. And also I expect that the hybridation with the new 3D printing, additive manufacturing, how they call it now, processes will be interesting for the MIM industry. There is some overlap, and we are more for the large series, they are more for the small series, but we can find a way that we can combine the two technologies and probably have good businesses in next year.